We're here today with Zola, international property expert, to talk about buying and selling homes internationally and the global real estate market. Home buyers, sellers, investors, even brokers, we're all searching for a greater advantage, greater benefit, and greater result in our real estate transactions. And we want to enjoy the process and have balanced and fulfilling lives along the way. So how do we accomplish all this in a market that's competitive, constantly changing, and crowded with choices? The Don Harkins Real Estate Show is dedicated to providing that answer. So Zola, thank you for taking time out of your day to come over and talk with us about international real estate. Your bio is impressive. So moved to Orlando from New York City in 2000. I have 2015, you opened up, built, and managed a real estate office that grew to 150 agents. Currently practicing real estate and a designated coach and mentor to agents. Member of the National Association of Realtors Certified International Property Specialist Faculty, Florida Realtors Faculty. 2014 president of the Orlando Regional Realtors Association, which I think we've got like 16,000 agents right now. 2015 Florida Realtors District 12 Vice President, 2019 NAR Board of Directors, 2012 named Chairman of Florida Realtors Global Networking Forums and 2014 Global Business Committee Chairman, 2011 Orlando's Realtor of the Year, graduate of the Florida Realtor Instructor Training Institute and teacher of NAR certifications nationally and internationally, including Certified International Property Specialist, Accredited Buyer Representative, SRS,
Seller Representative,
Seller Representative Specialist, Certified Real Estate Team Specialist, and
GRI,
Graduate Realtor Institute.
Residential.
Impressive, man.
Yeah.
So a lot of teaching.
Well, yes, thank you, Don. And first of all, thank you so much for the invitation because this is you guys are amazing. You've been in the market for a long time. You're well known in the community, and your professionalism is just really reflecting your work and your performance. So thank you so much for the invite. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get a chance to talk in the office a lot. I think we're pretty fortunate to have you down the hall so we can go over with problems and questions. And one of the things that's not in your bio, but you actually have a huge network with top agents across the country. So you kind of have access to a lot of best practices in real estate, and we're fortunate to be able to get a lot of those agents down here to do classes for our office and kind of utilize that network. So that's pretty unique to Keller Williams at the Parks. I think it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Benefit to having you here.
Yes, thank you. But it's also, it depends on the agents as well, because our associates are just really eager and hungry to learn.
Yeah.
And it's always a great way to provide what people really need versus what you want to give them. So that's two things. Yeah.
Sure. So tell me, like NAR, a lot of people don't realize it is an association of realtors, obviously, who are kind of like myself. I work with just buyers and sellers. But there's a lot of realtor members with NAR that don't really sell a lot of real estate. It's a huge political action committee with a lot of influence over legislation. It's a huge training organization as well. So tell me a little bit about your experience in NAR and how you've kind of gone from being a Realtor of the Year to now you're an international trainer. What's the organization been like for you and for people who are purchasing homes, selling homes? Why should they be and care about working with a realtor and somebody who's a member of that organization versus just somebody who's an agent out there licensed?
Well, it's a great question. So for me, it doesn't matter which company you're working with, real estate company. So I have a saying which I strongly believe. It doesn't matter what is your company's color, but I'm always first blue than any other color.
Yeah.
So, and blue is obviously stands for the Realtor Blue. And why is that? Because realtors are professionals.
Yeah.
We have to adhere to a code of ethics. Now, obviously, just like in any other industry, there are good lawyers and bad lawyers, right? So you just, it's every industry has the same issues, but we deem to have, and we are actually hold to a higher standard than someone who is just a real estate licensee.
Yeah.
So that is something which is really hit home with me. And of course, the branches of the National Association of Realtors is just, you can imagine, it's huge because we are a powerhouse as well, because we are 1.3 million members nationally.
Wow.
So that means it's a lot of people. So we are always, trying to support homeownership and land rights and property rights. And that is actually something which we backing our government, who are supporting our industry and ultimately the consumers.
Yeah.
Because it's housing. And housing, as we know, it's very important, and it's a huge economic engine for the country.
Yeah. I remember for a while I was on the Governmental Affairs Committee just at our local board. And I was shocked at the amount of funds they could gather, the amount of campaign services they could mobilize, the amount of votes and voices they could mobilize quickly when a hot button issue came up. And a couple years ago, it was tandem duplexes downtown. They were trying to shrink buildable area, and people who'd bought property and had bought specifically to take advantage of those R2 zonings and be able to build duplexes. They felt like they were under attack from that new law, and it was pretty quick that even the local board was able to mobilize a big voice and funds. And
yes,
so it's impressive. I can't imagine on a national scale.
Yeah, so you can imagine in a local level how massive is that, but then in a federal level it's just,
same thing.
But just to give you examples, like for instance, the on the mortgage interest rate deductions, that was something which we fought and we won.
Yeah.
So that is something which it's a tremendous achievement.
Yeah.
So that's
huge
very
benefit.
Good. Yes, huge benefit for the consumers. Yes.
Awesome. Well, cool. So that's a little bit about NAR. And by the way, like you hit the nail on the head, code of ethics. We kind of take it for granted working with other realtors, and then you get under contract with like a property owner in a for sale by owner situation, or you wind up dealing with a rental and property manager who's not a realtor, doesn't care to be a realtor, and you start to see how quick that line gets gray about ethics and what's being said and represented. So that code of ethics, it's a big deal. We see it a lot working with other realtors.
Yes.
So internationally, talking about buying property internationally, selling property to international buyers, tell me a little bit about your background with international real estate, and then we'll get into kind of some of the specifics and maybe some tactics for people who are buying and selling property right now.
In 2003, had my very first transaction, international transaction, and believe it or not, it was a seller. So that's when I recognized the opportunity of dealing with international real estate, because as we know, the good old saying in this business, if you list, you last. So basically, when I received the listing, the gentleman who was the owner of the property was actually from Hong Kong. And I never seen him. I talked to him a few times, and I conducted the transaction, and then he gave me his two other properties, vacant land. Actually, it was vacant lands. And then his cousin reached out to me within 6 months. So it was just a ripple effect, and I decided to get educated on this, on this international real estate. So I got my certified international property specialist in 2004. And
how long has that designation been around?
Well, I think it's been around in the late 90s.
Okay.
Or mid 90s.
Okay.
And it's been, I do believe that is one of the top beneficial designation in the country, and actually in the world, for that matter. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how it went down. And one thing which I also realized is, talking about buyers, one thing what we need to understand, and I had to understand, is there is very few countries which is conduct real estate the way how we do. So having said that, no one really sells real estate the way how we sell in the US.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by that? It's more like about representation. We actually represent our clients,
Yeah.
right? Either in the buyer or the seller capacity. We also have cooperating and co-brokerage fees, right? So we're sharing commissions, which is also sometimes is unheard of. Like in some countries in overseas, they actually paying finder's fees for the agents to find properties. So, it's very weird, like, you are doing business here and someone comes to your office and they give you $5,000 to find them a property and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
So that's the main, that would be probably the foundational knowledge. So people don't sell and buy real estate the way how we do here in the US. So when we are dealing with international clients, that we just need to do our little due diligence on the country of their origin to see how they do business.
Yeah. So what countries do you think are most similar to the US? If I am, let's say I'm here in the US and I want to go out and purchase international real estate. Maybe I want an investment property. Maybe I want to diversify where all my real estate is. Maybe I want an excuse to write off vacations. What are good countries for U.S. citizens to go out and buy real estate, and where is it similar to purchase?
It depends what is your purpose of purchasing it. Is it recreational? Is it investment? Or the combination of both?
Mm-hmm.
And what it comes down to is basically capital is moving to security. So how shall I describe that? We are looking for places. Why people come here to purchase? Because, first of all, the prices are favorable to their origin of countries. Second, we have property rights. And this is huge. So when we are selecting a country outside of the US, we want to make sure there is a title policy. There is actually ownership records you can actually fall back on and make sure you are protected as a purchaser.
Yeah.
So these are huge things, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some stories, and they are real stories, and it's not like, schemes and things like that. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, not knowing the laws and regulations of those countries.
Yeah.
So it depends on all of those things. But what it comes down to is if it's recreational, that's a no-brainer. I mean, if you go all the time to the Caribbean, and you want to buy a condo for just a few weeks out of the year, well, then that's pretty easy to decide. However, we also see a fluctuation of people moving and retiring outside of the U.S. So obviously those has to be closer to the U.S. because it's close to home.
Traveling back and forth, see family still, that kind of thing.
Correct, and also. The same things what I mentioned before. So who are those countries? We see a lot of the country in Central and South America.
Costa Rica, big expat population.
Huge Costa Rica, Panama as well, Belize as well. And these are actually one of the favorable places, not only for retirees, but also for people who wants to invest in real estate.
Is that because it's just good affordability? It's cheap and
it's a
close?
Combination.
Yeah.
Yes, and also the property rights,
Yeah.
and all of that makes so much more sense for them to do.
Gotcha.
In Europe, I would say probably France. Well, it also comes down to one thing, is how do you plan to purchase? So some countries are able to finance foreign nationals. Some countries are not. So like France, for instance, they have a 2% interest rate for locals, and also it's including international buyers. So 2%. I mean, that's like unheard of, right?
So here we go to, FBC Mortgage or, Wells Fargo, we get a mortgage, purchase the property, it's whatever percent. But France is actually financing the properties, or the banks in the country have just low rates?
Low rates, and the foreign national LTVs, which is the loan to value, is 85. 85. So that's very favorable if you think about it.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but let me just, and that's just one. And
Yeah.
you just have to do your due diligence. These are very easy to access.
Yeah.
But I would recommend for people who are listening to this to make sure to find someone who has a good reputation, is a good realtor or real estate agent in that country, because believe it or not, the National Association of Realtors have arms, so to speak, in different countries as well. So France is actually, so just using that example, it's a bilateral partner for the National Association of Realtors. So they do have international realtor members, which they also adhere to the Code of Ethics.
Gotcha.
So that is something which I would definitely look into if someone is planning to purchase something overseas, if those countries are falling under our kind of, Code of Ethics and guidelines, and being a realtor, and
Good place to start.
good place to start.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, but on the other hand, is what about when people want to buy here from out of the country?
Yeah.
Well, we also have programs for them. The percentage of the interest rate usually is 1 or 2% higher than the going rate for people who reside here, and also they looking at more like 35 to 40% down. So it's a little bit higher,
Yeah.
but they still have the opportunity to finance properties, which is, I think, it's amazing.
Yeah.
However, 45% of the foreign nationals are purchasing it with cash. Now, everyone says because they don't have access for funds. That could be true in some areas, maybe, but also it has to come down to one thing: it's cultural. Because they don't believe in that.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same thing. Like, I'm born and raised in Budapest, Hungary. My mom always taught me when I was growing up, son, if you can't afford it, you shouldn't buy it. So,
Yeah.
it was a whole different mentality, and that's carries in different countries. And
Yeah. That's just the way they're used to buying
That's
and
it.
selling. Okay. So, for sellers in the United States who have a property for sale, a lot of times we'll go on a listing appointment, and people want to know, how are you going to reach, how are you going to attract, how are you going to market to international buyers? So, in your experience, where are, in today's market, most international buyers coming from, and what's the best way to get in front of them? And also, what percentage do you know offhand of homes sold in the U.S. are sold to international buyers? Because my understanding is, while we want to go after that and capture that niche, it's actually a pretty small percentage of total sales.
Correct. Well, just to give you an example, probably I'm going to give last year number, so it's
Yeah.
going to be a guesstimate for this year. The total residential sales, it's over 1.1 trillion in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, last year, it was 121 billion with a B, contributed to foreign national purchasers. Now, that is residential.
Yeah.
And there's also commercial,
Yeah.
and I think that number is probably a little bit higher.
Yeah.
However, we just received the latest report from the National Association of Realtors, and we saw a 36% drop in international clients. And this is so fresh, I don't even think it's a week old,
Yeah.
this report. So we got it like last week, Thursday, and we are looking
Wow.
at,
That's substantial.
is substantial. And we are looking at, to be exactly, 77.9, so let's just call it $78 billion. So how do they calculate this? This is calculated by 12 months prior. So basically it's from 2019 April to 2018 March, so the past 12 months period, right?
Yeah.
So that's how they're calculating it.
Gotcha.
So why is this drop? Well, I believe there's a lot of reasons probably, but mainly is because of the global economy. So global economy is actually doing really well, and emerging markets are able to invest in other locations as well, people with money. and I'm sure it has to do with political climates in the U.S. And I'm not saying anything bad or good.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, it probably affecting that and the works what they do on the immigrations and things like that.
Sure.
So I am sure that's some or one way or the other is affecting it. Now, it's still a tremendous amount of people, right?
Yeah.
So who are these people? Where are they coming from? Well, they are coming from mainly from Asia. So Asia is basically, I don't know if you heard about this, Don, but I think we talked about this on one of our meetings here. In the next pretty much 20 years, the next millionaires are coming from Asia.
Yeah.
So it's going to be China and India, and they are going to be between the ages of 25 to 40. So that is like, it's a great opportunity. But
I was born in the wrong country.
I know, right? But the only good thing is, we don't have to run and start to learn all kinds of languages, Mandarin or any of the Indian languages, because they do speak English. As you know, in India, it's a very well-educated country.
Yeah.
And so the education system is tremendous. So people speak English, as well as coming from China. So what are those countries? It's China, India, Canada. So that's our northern neighbors.
Yeah.
But we also see our southern neighbors as well, from Mexico, and finally is from the United Kingdom, UK. So obviously some of them are already English-speaking countries, so you don't have to, focus on something other than English. But those are basically the top 4 or 5 countries who are actually making the largest impact in the foreign national purchases in the U.S. Now, as far as locations goes, location-wise, Florida is number 1. So we are very fortunate to, I'm sure it has to do maybe a little bit about the sunshine.
A little bit.
A little bit,
Maybe a little bit about Disney.
A little bit of Disney, yes. So absolutely, those are very attractive for people from all around the world. So we are number 1. Number 2 would be California. And California is a super expensive state, I think.
Yeah.
But
is that just because of proximity to Asia?
That's what I was going to tell you. These are also has to do with geographical locations. So obviously the country, if you look at the East Coast, West Coast, and the southern states, those are the ones who are actually are receiving the largest amount of transactions. So it's Florida number 1, California, Texas, and then we have Arizona, and then finally we have New Jersey. So those are the 5 states in that rank as well who is receiving those purchases.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you're from China, if you're from India, if you're looking for property, do they have an MLS? Do they have a Zillow? Where do they find U.S. property? Do you know do they primarily contact an agent over here first and then let that agent find the property? Or what's property search like in those other countries? Do you have any idea?
Well, here is the thing. When you are, yes, they do have their own system as well. So they're using their own property searches. But as you know, China, like just for example, it's blocked. So it's behind the firewall, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like how they do the searches from there to here, that I don't know. But what I know is how we actually expose our properties to the world. That would be a better way to explain that.
Yeah.
It's through actually realtor.com/international. So basically, and that's already translating into several languages. I believe it's maybe it's even up to 19 different languages. It's been translating all of our listings from MLSs from all across the country. Plus, they have also the conversion for different currency. Because don't forget, it's not everyone uses the same currency.
Sure. So
they have to do their own calculation. But also, most importantly, they don't even use the same measuring systems. So, square meters and square foot, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
So There is also a conversion access for that type of information, and that's available to them.
So any property on Realtor.com, if you're searching internationally, you have your own version of that Realtor.com site you can access. It's going to be your currency, your unit of measurement,
Correct.
your language.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So from a financing perspective, if you're a foreign national and you're looking to purchase property in the U.S., are there some lenders or methods of financing that are better to work with than others? What are some good resources for people who are looking for funds to purchase property in the U.S.?
Well, that's a very good question. Locally here in Orlando, of course, we have contacts, from many sources who is providing foreign national financing. But if you are not from Orlando, you are from different parts of Florida, I would just do the research.
Yeah, it's kind of regional people specialize.
Pretty much, yes. Of
Gotcha.
course, like people from Canada and people from the neighboring countries, they do have available financing through HSBC, RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. So we have branches from those countries here. So that would be probably to look at that opportunity first if they have any benefit by using them. If not, then I would definitely get a second opinion with someone who is a local mortgage lender who is also providing foreign national loans.
Okay.
Because, it's just, we shop around for certain things. So this is also very important. This should be probably one of the most important purchases in your life. So you should do shop around.
Yeah. Okay. Looking at the global real estate market, there is a lot of correlation between our market and the global market, but we've seen 10 strong years of solid growth, essentially year over year. We're expecting to see another couple years of more modest growth year over year. Is the global real estate market pretty much looking the same? Are there some markets that are really hot globally? Are there some that are really poor? Or is it kind of globally, is our market really tied in with everyone else's?
Well, that's a good question, but that's a huge part to cover.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not even sure if I am qualified to answer on that. There are a lot more smarter people than me can probably answer on that. But what I see and what is my research is during my presentations, of course, because, I'm making sure everyone gets the most up-to-date information.
Yeah.
So, and also talking to other colleagues all around the world, is what I can tell you is it's different in every region. But what I also been hearing is it's not going to be like dropping, but what is going to happen is stabilizing.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be, keep inflating, and then,
No more 8% year over year.
Right. So I think it's going to be more moderate. But how can we predict these things, right? Well, we can predict these things by looking at the economy. And, the trade wars, that's tremendous. It's going to be affecting a lot of things, I think, between the next few years. And when I say trade war, I'm not talking about politics, but the effect of those things, it's going to be definitely reflecting our market as well.
It affects housing supply, material
housing
costs.
supplies, all of that. And plus, let's not forget about the issues, what they're having, well, it's not an issue anymore, but it's Brexit. So Europe is gonna go through some of the challenges, or either if it's a good or bad thing, we'll see how it's gonna pin out, and that's pretty much it. But I don't think it's going to be like dropping, like a landslide problems,
Not like
it's just not like that.
2008.
No.
Gotcha. Are there any markets that you've seen? I know you're traveling and you're teaching in Europe and you're traveling across the country and you have the opportunity to talk to a lot of agents that buy and sell a lot of international real estate. Are there any markets right now that people think are really hot or emerging really fast that you see? We talked about foreign national investment in the U.S. has kind of dropped. Is there an obvious market where that investment is shifting to that you've heard about, or are people kind of maybe just tightening and holding back right now?
Well, good question. So again, that's something which I would like to just break it down. As far as like when you're going outward, obviously the emerging markets, right? What you're referring to, emerging markets are, you really want to invest. If it's recreational, that's pretty much, you just don't want to lose money,
Yeah.
right?
Bahamas, pretty safe.
Right,
Jamaica, people buying property. You mentioned Costa Rica.
right. And all of the Brazil.
Yeah.
Brazil is also hot. Now let's go to the other side. France, believe it or not, Turkey. It's actually, they have tremendous opportunities there too.
Okay.
Greece is actually coming back up now. So last year and the year before it was, but you still get good deals in Greece. And, they went through the financial crisis and
Yeah.
and all of that. So those are the places when, if you're looking at for investment purposes.
Yeah.
And also, let me just mention this because I don't know about the audience if it knows that. I'm talking about residential real estate.
Yeah.
So
everything I'm talking about residential.
So this is a huge thing because, and that's also different in any other countries, because agents in other countries are real estate agents for everything.
Yeah.
So, they know about commercial real estate, residential real estate. Well, we don't, and I am not either. So I had a commercial referral partner for when I was in production in referring commercial deals to them because I am not good at commercial office space and triple net lease and this lease, that lease. That's
even commercial has industrial and office and retail. I mean, we're super specialized over here.
Yes, very specialized. So I just want to make sure you understand that so I'm talking about residential housing markets.
You're not recommending people go buy manufacturing plants in Greece.
Right, or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
more like it's for residential investment purposes or recreational purposes.
Gotcha. Okay. So, you teach a lot of the CIPS class, Certified International Property Specialist. So, we have some agents that kind of watch and follow along. So, tell me a little bit more about what's in that class, who it might be a good fit for, what you guys cover, and what
Sure.
that's like.
Well, I believe it's one of the top designation what the National Association of Realtors offer to its members. And it's Certified International Property Specialist. That's what it stands for, the CIPS. It's a 5 days, very comprehensive and very educational course about the first 2 days are the 2 core courses. It's called local markets, and that's basically why we're talking about local markets when, so that's when you actually learn how we are different from other countries. The second core course is the transaction tools. That's when we are really talking about what difference could make even a few cents of a change on a conversion on a currency and how it can impact their purchase price or income if they're receiving it as an investment property from the investment property.
Yeah.
So that's very good. And then the metrics of the different systems. And then the last 3 days, it's actually optional from 5 different courses, but it has to be 3 days. So those are the regional courses. The Americas, obviously, Central and South America. And then we have Europe as well, and then Asia. And then there are also other elective courses they can substitute if they don't want to do the 3 regional courses,
Gotcha.
Such as at home with diversity certification from NAR, some of the SRS, CRS courses are also qualifying as a substitute to that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would definitely recommend for agents who are interested into this is go to the National Association of Realtors website, which is the I don't even know the new address, but the old one, which is going to
Google it.
The old one going to take you to the new one. It's
Yeah.
realtor.org. So it's org /global, and then that is going to take you to the global site global home site for NAR, and then you can just select CIPS, and you get the calendar, whatever you're located in the US, so you can identify the courses.
Okay, perfect. Well, Zola, appreciate you coming on. A lot of good information. If you are thinking about purchasing international real estate, if you're a foreign national thinking about purchasing U.S. real estate, have questions about the global markets, or if you want to get involved with CIPS or even NAR further, give me a call, 321-377-0341. I'll put you in touch with Zola. And appreciate you coming on, man.
Don, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be on your show. So
Absolutely,
it's been a great
man.
experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.